Hi everybody, it's Carla. It is Saturday. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Alabama. We're supposed to get up into the high 60s and we're enjoying that because in the middle of the week we had freezing temperatures. The water for the outside pets froze. School was actually canceled and businesses closed up for one day. We had a state of emergency, but the storm, the worst of it, missed all of us, and that was good. And early next week we might even get to 70, so that's a nice break for us. I'm still holding the people that are up north in our prayers. Like I said, I have a son up there that has difficulty getting back and forth to work, and when the weather is bad, it's really hard on him, so I'm praying for him to have safe travels and to stay warm. And anybody that's having to deal with cold weather, you're in my thoughts too. I wanted to show you what I had done around the month of December, and in November you start seeing the yarn advent deals going on. They can be super expensive depending if you're getting wool, sock yarn, depending where they're coming from. I've seen them. There was even a yarn store here in Alabama that was selling, I think it was worsted weight, or maybe it was sock yarn, that was going to be over $200 for an advent calendar, and a DK or worsted weight yarn was going to be about $150. And I thought, well, that is not me. I have a lot of thrifted yarn, and I decided to roll it up into small balls. And I've been working on knitting some socks with my loom knitting. Now I'm also trying to knit on 2 needles a sock that is knit with sock yarn, and just forming the heel and toe on 2 needles, and then it'll have a seam on the inside that you sew up. So I've got one about 3/4 of the way done. We'll see how that turns out, but I'm just trying to vary what I do. But what I decided to do was, with all those little balls of yarn, make my own advent calendar. I didn't really wrap them or anything. I just put 25 balls of yarn in here, and now I am starting to try to make a scrap blanket or scrap afghan and just add to it. And I'm knitting on size US 8 5.0 millimeter needles, and I started with this diagonal square. It come out with worsted weight yarn about 5.5 inches, and then I'm adding squares to it, just all in garter stitch, 5.5 inches, and I'm measuring as I go along. I got the directions actually out of a Dollar Tree book called Erica Knight's Simple Color Knitting, and she's just showing different stitches. And this one says diagonal stripes. I'm not doing the stripes. I just started my 1 square diagonal. It says this technique always produces a square of knitting, so creating a diagonal is easy, but I'm just doing mine all in basic colors. And this says start with 2 stitches, and then it tells you can add colors if you want, but using A, cast on 2 stitches. Row 1 will be the right side is knit 1, knit into front and back of last stitch. That's your increase. Now you'll have 3 stitches. Row 2 is knit 2, increase in the last stitch, and you'll have 4 stitches. Row 3 is knit to the last stitch and increase in that stitch. You'll have 5 stitches. And then the simple direction is repeat row 3 until there are 32 stitches on your needle. Then on the next row you will only knit all the way across, and then the next row you'll begin your decrease. So knit to the last 2 stitches and knit 2 together. You'll have 31 stitches. And then you keep repeating that row, knit to the last 2 stitches and knit 2 together until 26 remain if you want to add color. But I just did it all the way through down to the bottom where I decreased every row until 2 stitches remained, and then on the final row I knit 2 together and I fastened it off, and that gave me this diagonal square. And then I added the next color. I pulled up stitches along one edge. I got 18 stitches with this needle in this gauge of yarn, and I'm just going to add to it. And I thought that'd be the perfect thing to use my homemade yarn advent little thing. And I had made this out of thrifted yarn that was like macrame yarn. I had crocheted that a couple of years ago, and it is just the perfect size for holding all of these balls of yarn. I had 25 balls rolled up and in different ones, and I'll just pick out and knit as I go along and see how big this grows. But yeah, it's just a fun project. Maybe takes a half an hour to do a square, and or maybe a little bit longer. I do it while I watch TV, so it's hard to gauge sometimes. But yeah, I think I'm going to have a lot of fun doing that. It'll be a relaxing break from doing the small needles, or with those 2 needle socks, or for using a loom. I don't want to get stuck in a rut with just doing the same thing over and over. And let me show you one more thing. Let me cover it up. My husband made me some sock blockers, and I actually did get 2 socks done. This is just a little entryway thing here. And yeah, they're not perfect. This is the first one. It's got more little holes and such to it, and I washed them gently, rinsed them, and then hung them on the wooden sock blockers that he made me, and he cut out holes so the air would get through them, and they turned out really pretty. So yeah, just I know that people put a lot of effort into making those Advent yarn boxes, and they're beautiful. I've watched quite a few of them. They include little goodies, candy, knitting tools like new scissors, tape measures, stitch markers, buttons, some patterns, and then yarn about every other day. Some of them have yarn. Some have yarn every day. Some include tea, which I think is a cute little treat, Christmas teas. And yeah, but I can't justify the cost like that for me. And especially when I've got pretty yarns in my home that I can just enjoy just as much. And next year, Lord willing, if I'm still here, I would like to maybe through the year buy some little sock yarn mini skeins, or double knit little minis. And as I find them throughout the year, if we're in different towns and can stop at yarn stores, and then bring it home, and I've got Christmas wrapping paper, and just wrap it and throw it in and number them and forget them, and then as when it comes time for an Advent calendar, I'll be pleasantly surprised with what I have. But for right now, this is my little homemade Advent calendar container full of yarn, and I'm working on this little scrap yarn afghan. Okay, everyone, thanks so much for watching, and do check out your Dollar Tree. They have, every now and then, if you look in the books, they have really nice cookbooks. I mean, by big name authors. I've even seen them from Food Network there, and just different nice barbecue books and different things that maybe you don't think of. And they also have craft books. I've bought crochet books, I've bought decorating books, and I've bought several knitting books. And yeah, so I just hope you like this, and something you can do with your own stash of yarn, because if you are a knitter or a crocheter, I'm sure you have leftover remnants of yarn that you could do this and make your own Advent calendar, have fun, and save a lot of money while you're recycling your own stash. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye.